If you have been looking at Sigma 15mm f1.4 and still are not fully sure whether it is the right buy for your needs, that is exactly what this review is here to clear up before you spend your money. A lot of products can sound great on the listing and still end up feeling underwhelming once they are actually in your hands, so the real question is whether this one gives you solid everyday value, fits the way you plan to use it, and feels worth the price. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. As I mentioned earlier, I'll admit that I wasn't exactly thrilled about the prospect of using a diagonal fisheye lens. My experience with circular fisheyes has been mostly for novelty, and I didn't see the point of the diagonal version at first. But I'm always up for a challenge, and I wanted to see if this lens lived up to the hype. And let me tell you, it's different. The Sigma 15mm f1.4 diagonal fisheye is indeed a full-frame lens, which is a huge plus for those who need to shoot without worrying about black circles around the edges of their frame. And that f1.4 aperture? Yeah, that was always going to pique my interest. The combination of a sharp image, minimal distortion, and a wide aperture is a rare combination in the world of fisheyes. As I started using the Sigma 15mm f1.4 on my street photography and experimental portrait work, I began to notice some really interesting things. One of the first things that struck me was how well it handled light in low-light situations. We've all been there, you're out on a shoot at night, and your ISO is climbing, which can quickly become an issue on some lenses. But with the Sigma 15mm f1.4, I found that I could keep my ISO relatively low, thanks to the f/1.4 aperture pulling in plenty of light. And yes, even considering the distortion that comes with a fisheye lens, I was surprised by the amount of clarity across most of the frame. The corners can get a little bit softer, especially wide open, but that's not distracting, and it actually adds to the character of the image. The build quality is another area where the Sigma 15mm f1.4 impressed me. While it's not an all-metal build, it still feels incredibly solid and sturdy, like it can withstand daily use and even rough handling. I found myself tossing it in a bag, going out on location, and not thinking twice about it. And it's got both dust and splash resistance, which came in handy during an unexpected drizzle. I didn't panic, I just kept shooting. There was no fogging, no issues at all. One thing to keep in mind when using the Sigma 15mm f1.4 is that it's a manual focus-only lens. Some folks might be put off by this at first, especially if they're used to relying on autofocus for everything. But the truth is, with a fisheye, focus is kind of built in. The depth of field is massive at f/8 and even f/4, so unless you're trying to isolate a subject very close to the lens, you can set it and forget it. In fact, I found myself pre-focusing at around 6 feet and just shooting, knowing that everything from a few feet away to infinity would be usable. It actually made me more confident in fast situations, as I didn't have to worry about the lens hunting for focus or missing it. Now, I know that all of this might sound very appealing, and you're probably wondering if this lens is worth checking out for yourself. And the short answer is, it absolutely is. If you're on the fence, I'd encourage you to take a close look at the sample images, check out some video tests, and keep an open mind. This isn't for chasing specs, this is for chasing ideas. The Sigma 15mm f1.4 diagonal fisheye is an incredibly unique lens that's all about creating new and interesting perspectives. If you're someone who's always been drawn to the abstract, the surreal, and the unique, then this lens might just be the perfect addition to your toolkit. And if you want to learn more, including where to get your hands on it, the link to the product details on Amazon can be found in the description below.